Hello and welcome to Note to File, a clinical research podcast.
A collection of interviews, candid commentary, and general nonsense for the clinical research community.
Check us out at notetofilepodcast.com.
And now, without further ado, on to the show.
All right, guys, welcome to another Note to File. Denali, how's it going?
It's going well, man. July 21st.
July 21st. And bringing back a friend of the show, Dr. Daniel Fox. How's it going, man?
Yeah, just realized I'm short again.
Okay. There you go. There you go. You got it.
I'll meet you halfway. How's it going, everyone?
We're all lined up good.
Good. It's good. It's been a wild weather recently. I don't know. I mean, we're kind of close, right? Like you're Midwest, right? Illinois, yeah, Wisconsin. So like with the wildfires and stuff, it's been.
You getting the Canadian smoke?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's been.
Have to tell you the excellent choice of song, man. I'm about to fall asleep.
I mean, that's how I feel today. I'm coming in between two SIVs that we have today. Also, just I don't know. You ever have that? Just like you have those like brain fog days.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel.
I get it when I get slammed with work. Like if I get someone like 5 sites sending me one negotiation each that day, I'm just like. Pfft.
I mean, that's just my brain being like, I don't want to do anything. Yeah. I'm avoiding this. I'm checking out.
There's a little hidden in-house favorite thing right now that we're doing. You should Google Resident Evil Smooth Jazz sometime.
Okay. I'm intrigued. I was a big fan of the series when I was a kid, at least up to
I'll send you the link.
Up to number 3 or 4, you know.
We've got a favorite. They took the Resident Evil song and turned it into a smooth jazz compilation. Just turn that on, listen to Resident Evil Smooth Jazz while we're meeting and negotiating. And
I feel like
it's an irony of like, a horror movie, but then smooth, relaxing jazz,
Huh. There's a station on some artist, I don't even remember what it's called, on Spotify that my son likes, which is basically like video game theme songs, but like classical music.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a similar concept, but just crossovers we didn't know we needed in our lives.
There are some awesome fusions out there. There really are. So
yeah, it's good stuff. Today is July 21st, and last time you came on, as you recalled off air, it was I think it was like it must have been Power Ranger Day, something like that. Today is National Junk Food Day, which I can relate to that. So what's your favorite? What's your favorite junk food?
It's a good question. Oh, yeah, I know. We can only buy them at Sam's, but it's a version of Doritos, but it's white cheddar, and it's from the Simply brand, so it's lower salt. I guess healthier junk food. I
mean, come on, it's barely junk food. You gotta go. No, that actually sounds intriguing. I'm like a big chips.
Yeah,
I will just destroy a bag of chips, and then regret my life decisions shortly afterwards.
I like to pair chips and cheese together. I feel like that's really freeing.
Like nachos, or you have to dip it so they don't get soggy?
Not even like dip cheese, like actual like cheese. It's kind of like a charcuterie concept, but instead of having crackers, you have like potato chips.
So
you live in Wisconsin.
I went to Wisconsin. There's a place called the Cheese House or something like that. That's like a ton of cheese. So you get your cheese there, and then you have your chips or crackers or something, and you make a little.
Yeah, it's like a exactly. Yeah,
so charcuterie board.
Yeah, it's like a charcuterie board, but instead of the crackers, you just have like Lay's potato chips or Ruffles, and you also have like the dips. I also am similar. Like I would much rather be like a chip junk food person. I'm much more like salty and savory versus like a sweet junk food.
I think if you live in Wisconsin, you're forced at gunpoint to purchase at least so much cheese every week. So
I had family in town earlier this week, and came over for dinner, and I realized I'd gone to the store to be like, oh, I'm just gonna get some cheese to like have out for like, as we're like snacking on stuff. And I think I probably bought like 10 to 15 different types of cheese. And I was like, and I didn't even think about it until I come back and I'm like, this might be too much cheese. It wasn't because
It
there's no
wasn't.
such thing. But
It was consumed, right? You didn't waste it.
right, exactly. It wasn't too
Yeah.
much cheese, and there's no such thing as too much cheese. But I did have that thought, like fleeting thought, like, oh, did I overdo it this time? But it's fun.
Can't be done. Can't be done. All right. I don't know. Today's not a very good day. That's like Belgium Independence Day. I don't have anything funny to say about that. So we're just gonna we'll skip the days. National Junk Food Days. Yeah, maybe I'll celebrate later once my day's over.
Reward yourself for your SIVs.
Sure,
There you go.
We'll go with that.
So if I had to throw one out there, the tradition one that we used to like was the Nutty Bar. That was a good one.
Is that is it the chocolate covered stick?
The little bar
thing?
with wafers and peanut butter covered in chocolate.
Yeah. Okay, I buy that. I'll buy that. That's a good snack food. I'm not gonna make you do your whole intro thing. You've been on several times, but for anyone watching who hasn't seen your appearances before, I guess tell us just a little bit about CRPN.
Sure. Dr. Fox, been in the industry for a very long time. Clinical Research Payment Network. I bet you can't guess what they manage in the name, but
Regulatory documents.
Oh, actually, it's funny you should say that.
Right.
So that was the dream. The dream was that finance sucks and sites have a hard time doing it. So I want to make it easier for sites. And been doing that for a long time, but it's grown into like almost like a substitute director running sites again. People bringing me in, having a site that's falling apart and coming together and do everything. So
has it gotten any better or worse, I guess, like over the last like several years in terms of, because I mean,
finance?
Yeah, I mean, I guess site finance in general. I mean, I'll say, I mean, we've talked about this before, like you helped us a ton because as we grew, we became very quickly unable to keep up with what the hell was going on. Is that like a story you see play out relatively commonly? Are sites getting better? Is it harder or worse because things are more complex than they were before? Sort of, what does that look like in terms of how sites are managing?
I've done many audits since we even started yours. And you come in and it's kind of the same way. Sites, they got successful. They landed all these trials. They maybe enrolled in one trial and then got a bunch more. And then it all just started falling apart. So they started getting too busy. They started missing things. They started forgetting things. And then it turned to a point where they just lost so much money that they either have to close or fix something. To answer your question, in the age of AI, now we've got sponsors and CROs trying to implement AI on their end. It's getting even harder and harder for sites to manage their finances. We're running into where like a site of 2 years old was kind of fixable. We can claim everything.
Yeah.
Cut that down to like 6 months to a year now. By the time a site is 1 year old, if they haven't managed something, it just stacks up and then the contracts are getting worse. So IWOs, the invoiceable windows of opportunity, long stops, invoice it or lose it, is getting worse. In other words, if you don't invoice in so many days by the time it happened, I guess you just did work for free. So
is the reason you see sites like sort of falling down on this, like, is it just because they never understood finances to begin with? They did this for the clinical side, didn't realize the finance part of it, or is it because they get too busy? Like, what's the sort of the fail points you see for sites?
Yeah, I think that part of it has to do with most of the time finance is dumped on the coordinator or some other person who has another job. Sometimes it's that manager, that director, whoever it might be. It's never a full-time job ever. And so as a result, it turns into like that hobby.
Got it.
So it's not something that you focus on. The other one is, you were spot on. It's this coordinator who was awesome at coordinating. And they're like, we're going to make you a manager here. Take care of it. No training, no education, just here. And they're sitting here like fumbling, making mistakes. Right. And then a lot of the sites that I work with, they think that finance is like a beginner's job and they just have like a family member do it for free. Which, yeah, they're like, oh, it's, all we have to do is send an invoice and that's it. We can just have our family member over here do it and we won't have to pay them. Happens a lot.
And I do
So
think
it's kind
there's
of like,
to that. I mean, and certainly, I've made every mistake there is to make at one point or another. But I mean, when you start small, as I think a lot of, especially independent sites, are like a coordinator who breaks off to start a site. You really don't have a whole lot of options in terms of like you're going to manage everything yourself, and it is manageable in the beginning, or at least the illusion is a lot more easy to trick yourself into being, oh, I've got all this. And then the way this tends to go, I feel like, is you're either, everything always happens at the same time, so you end up 6 studies all of a sudden, and you're already screwed because you're already playing from behind. You already probably didn't negotiate that well because you're trying to rush through it because you got other things to do. By the time you bring somebody in to help you, they're coming in cold. They have no idea what's going on. You didn't probably keep good records or set up any good system for doing this. So it's like, just like every coordinator hates taking over, a study from another coordinator, like something gets lost every time. I feel like that's something just sort of not inherent, but easily seems to happen.
Yeah. When you're doing those audits, like I was like, research finances is pretty broad, right? Like, are there specific areas of that too that you're seeing folks like they really suck at budget negotiations, but they're decent at invoicing, or like they actually did decent with the like the budgeting, but they haven't really managed to figure out their like post award? Is there like an area, or is it both that people just suck at, or does it depend?
Ironically, people are all focused on the negotiations. They're gonna land this negotiation per patient, boom, 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 and then it's all complex. Everyone's focused on that, and then it's there, and then all of a sudden, there's this disconnect between the people who do the work and the contract.
Yeah,
a lot of times, like, people don't want their coordinators seeing the contract. They don't want to give them raises. Coordinators see you get all this money and they don't see expenses, so they're like, I want paid more. So then you gotta there's like a manufactured veil between the contract and the people doing the work, which creates a disconnect in the contract management of it. And I think that is probably one of the bigger signs than even over on the negotiation side. Now, we did just do an audit where we did a complete assessment of the risk of provisions, and they were just absolutely trashed. So that's the other thing to think about, is they focus on the numbers and they don't focus on the provisions. It's like you can have the highest numbers in the world, but if you only get paid biannually, then what's the point?
Yeah. So if you guys got comments, please feel free. Sandra, windows are ridiculous. Certainly they want their data. There's no, if it's 6 months, you can't be like, sorry, that happened 6 months ago. We're not going to update it. You don't get to do that, Certainly a power imbalance, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I found, I saw an IWO of 15 days by occurrence, Brad.
I mean, that's almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
Like,
literally setting sites up to do work for free, which that's one of the big things that I'm running into. I'm back into the director saddle. I'm directing a site right now, and I can't believe the direction the industry has gone as far as the expectation to do work without pay. Unscheduled visits have been a big thing recently, especially the complex trials. Unscheduled visits, you have to do them for screening purposes, right? You might have to have someone come back in for labs, might have to have for an extra assessment. The industry doesn't pay unscheduled visits before randomization.
Which honestly is the time, I think, is, to your point, maybe most important sometimes. Like, I don't know, if you want a patient, maybe my PI is busy, I'm going to do as much of the visit as I can. I'm going to bring them back for a physical. I can get labs, whatever. Or they need to come back for labs. Maybe, they're busy. Like, you would think the sponsors would want that flexibility, like on the front end, because it's going to help you potentially just get screening done. But yeah, we've run into that plenty.
Are you seeing that's a trend that's like shifting that way, or is this a continuation?
I used to see unscheduled visits get paid while you're screening patients. It used to happen. But this goes back to your question about the challenges that we have. And a lot of it is honestly not the negotiation pre-study, but the interpretation of the contract post-study. So we're going to get this thing negotiated. It looks great. And then it goes off to a brand new team. And then they're interpreting it in a certain way. Like, oh yeah, we're not going to pay unscheduled visits before randomization. That's silly. So you're promised one thing pre-study, and then something different happens with a different group post-study.
So on like the sponsor CRO side, they're like interpreting it different. Like you negotiate with one group, looks great, and they're like, no, this isn't what this means.
Yep.
How do you prevent? What do you do? What do you do to combat that? How do you prevent that?
The best thing you can do is if you're allowed to be as specific as possible in the CTA. So I'll give archiving as an example. That's the textbook one. Archiving is just this weird industry unspoken rule that archiving is invoiced at closeout. But unless it states it's invoiced at closeout, you should be able to invoice it for it when archiving starts at startup in the very beginning. When you put a piece of paper in a file or you save your first file, that's archiving. You're storing. And so like, for example, for your question, if I were to say archiving, I'd have it in the provisions payable at CTA execution. There you go. It's the definition. So any kind of mistaken interpretation would be gone as long as you write your contract properly.
I was going to say, though, do you think, I mean, sponsors take advantage of the vague nature of a lot of these contracts? I mean, again, I've seen it. You've probably seen it more than me. Like, it is extremely hard to tell, and oftentimes, again, almost seems intentional to like figure out what the payment trigger is, for, easiest example obviously is, patient visits. So is it when I put in the EDC? Is it when it's completely finished? Is it when it's been monitored? We had studies, It's been a long time, but there were studies that it wouldn't pay you till the PI signed off on a CRF, which might not be until the end of the freaking study. And that is oftentimes written in such a vague way that could be interpreted any number of ways. But do you think that's purposeful so that they kind of make it up as they go?
Well, I think it's vague because they have to work with so many different sites.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like intentional, like they're trying to be mean, but I think that they have to like try to fit this giant trial across all of these different organizations that they have to make it vague. That kind of defies the point of a CTA, if you ask me. I mean, that's supposed to be specific, but when they're managing 150 trials on a study, they're trying to follow these vague rules. So that's the one thing I can kind of say.
Get sort of the least common denominator thing that could apply the most broadly. But yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, and it's realistically, as far as the management goes, one of the biggest challenges that we're finding is, of course, communication. And that is specifically who's the number one go-to who gets a contact from external stakeholders, from global partners, sponsors, CROs. It's the PI and a CRC. That's it. Those are the only two. So unless you have them connected with your finance group, they're going to be doing things. Example, CRA contacts a CRC and says, hey, I want to close out your site. Let's schedule a closeout visit. Most CRCs, I'll do what the sponsor tells me to. I'll go ahead and schedule it. And they don't do that check in with the industry. They don't get the administrative approval for something so very important. And sure, scheduled it, then they're out. And then 2 months later, the admin says, well, when is this thing going to close out? Oh yeah, we did that 2 months ago. What? And you didn't tell me? Well, the IWO was 30-day by close, so I guess we just lost our closeout invoice. Thanks a lot. It's that kind of a connection.
Not to mention
internal communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think not to mention that, at that point, you lose, I mean, this, like, leverage you have as a site is potentially like, hey, you can't come here and do anything. You owe us. You still owe us $25,000 that you didn't pay us. So no, you're not going to come to a closeout visit, which is going to then at least cost them time and money. So you've lost that advantage if there's not some mechanism to communicate that within your team.
That was kind of my question. Like, what is the leverage that sites have to do this, to negotiate more specific terms, to like do this? Because like you get it, the sponsors generally somewhat of a power differential between site and sponsor. So like, what leverage does a site have to negotiate better terms to do some of this?
That's a good question. It all depends. So you have a number of leverages. One is, how desirable is the site to the sponsor?
Right.
That's number one, is, do we need this site? Is this site something that's really important? Do we find value in investing in this site? If that's the case, of course, they're going to be much more able and willing to be flexible and negotiate and have better terms. If you're like a startup site and you don't have a reputation and you don't have notable patient population, anything like that, there's not much you can do. You can come in. I mean, the best thing that those sites can do aren't necessarily to try to negotiate terms with sponsors, but to try something. And as soon as they realize it doesn't work, save the sponsor and them money and just stop it and move to the next one. The worst thing you can do is just waste money.
Yeah, just trying to make it like a square peg round hole, make it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't want to try to make it work. It's either going to be like an organic good fit, you're a good site, things work out. But from my experience, the sites that are struggling in a trial, they're not going to get better with time. You've got to try something, figure it out, and then move to the next one. And that's sponsor and site. Site, move to the next trial. Sponsor, move to the next site. And the other thing, and this is another broken communication, is you remember that CRA who's contacting the CRC saying, hey, I need to close this out. That CRA has no idea how much money is owed to the site either. They are not part of the money conversation, which means they're just trying to do their job.
Yeah.
So oftentimes it's important for the site to actually have stronger communication than their external partners, because odds are that CRA is not talking to their finance team at all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think to go back to the other point, I mean, I think it's I don't know, it still feels like a conundrum to me. And I know I definitely do it wrong at times, but it is like, it almost is that like we should try to like just fail faster if that's going to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I'm one for like, hey, let's give it a shot, let's go. And oftentimes it doesn't work, and probably could have not done it to begin with. And I guess that's always a question, like a philosophical question, like as a site, do you make the stretch? Sometimes it does work when you don't think that it will. Do you give it a shot anyway? I get all kinds of different advice of like, oh, well, if you do it and you do a bad job, sponsor's going to hate you and, you're never going to come back to you again. Or, oh, you should do it because at least you're going to start developing a relationship with the sponsor. I get some of this may depend on your strategy as a site or what you're trying to do. But like, I don't know, does that resonate with you? Like, is that a challenge?
Oh, yeah.
Does it seem to be a challenge for sites? I mean, I think, again, for as long as I've been doing this, I'm still like, I better just take it, even though it's going to suck. I'm going to take it anyway.
A lot of that can be driven by a number of things. One is your PI, of course. You've got those PIs that are like, what drives your PI? Because that's probably going to be what drives your trials. If you want that PI who wants to bump elbows and network and contribute, do you want that PI who's focused on the revenue? Do you want that PI who cares about their patients? Maybe a PI has patient populations that they know we need trials for, and we will invest a little bit more into those trials because we have the patients that need the help. So it's all going to be a different driver from a financial perspective and a relationship perspective.
Yeah.
My biggest motto is don't waste money. That's it. So if I see like a trial is not working out and I come up to a sponsor and be like, hey, you know what? You've got a continuing review coming up. This isn't working out. Let's save you some money. Let's just close out before the continuing review. Oh, wow. Thanks a lot.
I was going to say, do you feel like that's generally like well received for the most part?
Oh, yeah. Most of the time, wow, thanks so much for thinking about our budget. We really appreciate it. By the way, we've got these 2 other trials. Now we trust you. Would you like to try these? Because for one, they know that you're not trying to milk them. And 2, you're trying to build that relationship. I was going to say,
I call that the REI sales approach. Like when I worked in retail, I worked at REI for a period of time, and people would come in and be like, I want Yeti coolers. And we'd be like, we don't sell Yeti coolers, but I can call Academy, have them hold you one, go get it.
Go over there.
And then they're going to come back when they want the other thing. So it's like establishing that reputation and that trust is super important and can go a really long way, because they're going to go on a backpacking trip in Europe and they're going to come buy thousands of dollars worth of equipment later.
It's worth so much more than that one invoice or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd much rather foster the relationship. And a motto that I always like to say is money is just a consequence. So in finance, even if you think about accrual-based accounting, money's just a consequence. I'm not as worried about what is coming in the bank or the deposits. I'm worried about the service, the accrual, the reputation. You build that, money comes. It'll happen.
That's
But
funny.
yeah, you have to, I mean, it's thing like a lot of people, they think money, 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 what's in my bank account? You're like, that's a consequence of all the work that you did. That's good.
So it's funny. That's the exact. I mean, I've had this conversation numerous times with folks on my team where like it's like the money will follow. If we're directionally correct, if we're doing something well. I've never phrased it that way, but it's exactly that concept where you get into organizations, you get way too fiscally focused, especially like sales organizations, right? Like sales teams and stuff. They're like, it's all about meeting this quota. This is what I need to hit by this quarter in this timeline. And it's like if you're doing your job, you're doing it well, and you're delivering something that's good. That's all going to follow. So if you're focused on hitting the dollars, you're focused on the wrong thing. You need to focus on delivering the thing.
Yeah, you're too far upstream, because once the dollars are there, what's next? It's going to have to be another opportunity.
More dollars.
More dollars.
Then it never stops. Then it's all, then you start doing things the wrong way just for the dollars. And then that doesn't hold up. That's not a sustainable way to do things.
And then we have VC and PE in research.
Yeah, has that
yeah, how's that going? How's that going? You ever see those situations where you know of sites who sell and then like 2 or 3 years later they're like closed down because the magic's gone?
Or I'd say that sites, it's vendors, it's across the board. You see this where people chase to your point, they're chasing the dollars because what's next? So they go in and their goal no longer becomes delivering this service, providing this product, doing this thing well, because the mission becomes we have to make the money. and so like the vision changes. And if you have external funding, in my personal opinion, they're less tied to the actual original mission, potentially, generally. And so likely. So the shift then changes from this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, to we're doing this is a direction. This is a way we can make money. Not actually what we're doing. So
or just start slashing, make cookie cutter, be as efficient as possible.
Well, we'll sell it to the next person.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where that all ends up, because we're trying to grow some pretty big site networks, but are they going to be able to be sustainable long enough? Is someone going to buy them?
I mean,
I'm curious how like the old purchases have gone.
It feels like a snowball rolling. It feels like a snowball rolling downhill. Like it started, and then like how they keep doing it, instead of like actually organically making money, they keep taking in new investments or inorganic growth to show continued growth. And so we're never actually seeing it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger because we keep acquiring more, taking down more funding. And then we're never actually realizing what it was originally sold on. And so it becomes this massive rolling ball of funding that at some point is going to hit the bottom of the hill. Right?
Yeah,
like
it is almost to a T following the history of healthcare. If you've ever watched that, what we're seeing in research right now is like healthcare 98, but healthcare just turned into a giant patient factory. It's not even about it's not about the disease. It's not about what you're treating. It's about the wallet biopsy. How much money can we get out of that patient? And odds are that's where research is going to go. But in that case, it's not going to be the patient who suffers. It's going to be the sponsor. So they're going to be okay now, try to undercut and be super big and all these things. But eventually there will come a time where the desire for that dollar bill has gotten so big that all they can really do is cut quality and increase price.
Yeah, but it's different too, though, right? Because you can't, it's not like healthcare in that you can't just you can't milk patients. Eventually sponsors are going to be like, hey, wait, no, this is stupid. We're not doing this because it's their money.
Did you see, and I don't know where it's going, that clinical trials in a healthcare environment FDA guidance?
I don't know if I've seen that.
So there's this interesting guidance. It was a draft list I checked, but they are laying out a way so that, like, you know how labs work, like central labs? Like you can collect patient labs and send it out, and a central lab does it, has nothing to do with the site. they're trying to do that with general healthcare assessments and research, physicals and that kind of stuff. So they're trying to turn the central lab cycle and business model into healthcare. So there's like vendor physicians paid for by a sponsor that a site has nothing to do with, that the sponsor can send the patient to for clinical outcomes. Anything that you could do in a healthcare setting, they'll do.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like carving it out.
DCT guidance, I think.
It's a different one though.
It's different.
No, it's a different one.
Yeah.
It's a different map because they're talking about all the regulations around direct contracting between sponsor and healthcare.
Well, and again, people talk about these things and, whatever. It's probably, I guess it could be helpful potentially. But again, that doesn't seem to be the problem in general, in my mind. It's not that people won't come to the doctor or come to the research site generally. Of course, some people can't and they are, restricted by travel or distance. But, if I'm putting out ads and I've got hundreds of people every week raising their hand saying, I want to be in a trial, it's because they don't qualify. It's not because they won't travel. I really think we're still not solving like the bigger issue.
I was thinking about there was virtual clinical trials, and there's DCT, and then there's DEI, and there's AI. Let's figure out another acronym. What are we going to work on this time?
The DCT stuff I haven't seen a study where they're implementing any of that stuff.
No, so I think it got artificially inflated with COVID.
Oh, for sure.
So that the investors pumped so much money into it that it's virtually impossible for them to get their return on investment. So now it's just more cost effective to do it the old way. I think it was a good concept, but it exploded when it was needed, and it had so much investor money into it that it couldn't survive the supply and demand once everything normalized.
That makes sense.
Well, a lot of that happened when we saw site networks collapse after they realized they didn't know how to do anything except vaccine trial, or, I think we're still seeing even some of the long tail of COVID at this point.
Yeah, just wait for the next pandemic, right? And then we'll be
just
I feel like our infrastructure is slightly different now. We'll see how we handle that.
You never know. How's the cyclosporin?
Yeah, right.
Cyclosporin, the next C. diff. So Sandra has another comment.
Yeah, showing this. Shout out, Sandra. Thanks for listening. So what are you seeing with IRBs being paid directly versus passing through the cost?
Oh my gosh, Sandra, that's quite the conversation. It gets tricky. So, of course, most IRBs that are central, that are local, are through academics, hospitals, anything like that. So that's going to be some bill that's sent to the site, and then it's a pass-through cost. I think she was talking about that. The majority of the private industry, they use central labs or central IRBs, which means that the site still has to file with the IRB, but it's an IRB that all of the sites of a trial file toward. Ideally, the site is still going to file with the IRB. The site should still be charging what they call the regulatory fees for IRB, whether it be a protocol amendment, continuing review, or even annual regulatory fees. But there's a number of boutique CROs out there, especially some small sponsors, who are trying to install, we just filed to the IRB for the site, so we're not going to pay you for IRB. We're just going to file it for you. So you don't have to charge for anything regulatory. We're going to do it for you. And we're thinking, where's your employee badge? You're not a site representative. You are collecting these things and turning it to the IRB, but my name's still in the 1572. We still have to represent our site. You cannot represent us. And that's a huge fight. A lot of small CROs, they think that sites should not be paid for submitting to central IRBs.
Why?
Save money?
Yeah.
I mean,
that is a weird.
Maybe it wasn't part of their RFP. I don't know.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't charge back for it, so now they have to try to recoup it.
Yep. Maybe when they did their RFP, they're like, we didn't put this in the budget for the sites, and the sites come back and you could have included the sites in your RFPs. Just saying. But
Make too much sense.
I don't know.
Do you think there will be any shifts with, I mean, now there's all this, Operation Trialblazer stuff. I mean, one of the things that, seeing is going from potentially only having to do one big trial, to get FDA approval, which I can't imagine is going to make trials easier to do. If anything, they'll probably be much more challenging. I wonder if, what impact could that have on sites financially? I guess in two ways. One is running a harder trial with presumably more assessments and whatnot, and potentially losing out on the ability to, have additional study opportunities. Since if they only have to run one, why would they run two or more?
Well, unless they completely neuter the data safety monitoring board, those trials are going to be powered so insanely that the enrollment is going to go crazy.
Yeah.
And if you increase enrollment and only do one trial, sure, you're going to have fewer trials, but you're going to have so many patients on that trial that I don't think sites are going to see it anytime soon.
Well, I mean, it seems like it's the only thing that it's doing is it's just smushing two trials into one, ostensibly.
Yeah, they're just collapsing their phases. There's one sponsor in particular they've been trying that for about over a year now, and they're not too successful. But they're trying to do like BOGO trials, where you two trials in one. You only get one admin, one closeout, one all this stuff, but you're getting two trials out of it. So they're trying it.
But I mean, we're already slow in recruiting patients. So again, making it, to your point, I don't know, maybe it's not twice as big, but it definitely has to be bigger. That's more patients. And again, we like to go collect data points we don't need. And if you only get one shot, are they going to throw in more data points?
100% they are. They're not going to take the risk of being like, oh, whoopsies, we forgot to include this. This trial is no good anymore. We're going to they're going to throw in everything they can because of you're putting all your eggs in one basket, basically. And so you don't want to have an and miss a data point and then you're screwed. There's no chance in recouping this anywhere.
Yep. And instead of 150 sites who are awarded the trial, they'll probably have to go closer to the 300 or 400 range. Especially like you said, Brad, with the patient enrollment and the screen fail percentages.
That was going to be my question with this, where we talked about does this make it more competitive for sites to get trials if there's potentially fewer trials, or is it that latter where you have to have more sites on that one trial?
I think because of the way it's powered and because of the way sites can enroll patients, I don't think it's going to create competition. I think it's going to make it so that more sites have to be on the same trial. Because statistically, you're going to need the same number of patients to show power.
Yeah.
Whether it's whatever it is. And unless, like I said, unless they neuter DSMC, I don't see that. I mean, the product still needs to be there. You still have to collect the data, and the data is going to show something. So you have to have this much data no matter what trial or how many trials you go into.
So it basically just saves maybe a little bit of admin on the front and back ends.
Yeah, maybe. But over the cost of time.
Yeah, assuming you don't just triple the time in recruitment instead of doubling, because then you're still at a net loss at that point. So
just remember, if you're saving something, it's disappearing from somewhere else. It's a yin yang. So if you're saving money, we're going to save all this money, odds are a giant part of that is a cost shift of expectation for free work of a site.
Got it.
So prime example is, Brad, have you experienced the whole, trial coach thing that a lot of these groups are trying now, where they're hiring people that they control?
Oh, I saw that.
To work with sites and to get enrollment up and trial coach this and that. Let's schedule a meeting every single week.
Oh, well. Yeah, I mean, I just had an SIV where they were
the trial coach thing
told us we will be having a call every single week. I've seen the CTEs is one I've seen.
Yeah,
that's trial educator.
They just renamed that though. That disappeared. It's a different name now. But that's the same concept. It's not a CRA. It's not your monitor. Right. It's some other trial coach thing where they come in and if you have 50 trials and you have 50 trial coaches trying to schedule 30 minutes a week, how are you going to see patients at all? And the crazy thing is, going back to it, these trial coaches are contracted by the sponsor to spend time with the site, but then the sponsor denies the site the time to meet with the trial coaches. Oh, this is a free service that we're offering you. It's free so that I guess the sites don't have to pay for it, the service itself, but you still have to staff the meetings.
Are these optional, or are these like, like sometimes like sponsors would be like, hey, we want to give you all these tools. This is you have available. This person can help you, whatever, or not. Is this something they're like, no, you have to do this. You have to do this thing.
It's
or
turning into the whole, when you started this trial, it's an expectation that you participate. That's the conversation.
Are you being paid for it then?
No,
but that's sort of the rub as a site, I think, is if you're too aggressive about like protecting your time, like all of a sudden like you're difficult to work with. You're not doing things, the way they want you to do them. But if you do it, then you're a sucker because you're wasting your time and not getting paid for it. So like which one do you want to be like?
Which one you want to do?
Hands
you
down,
know what saved me on that? What saved me on that conversation was I had documentation during the negotiation that my time requested was denied. So the fact that it was there in the negotiation and they said no, it got us out of the meetings. So that, going back full circle here, negotiations, one thing that you could do is make sure that you document that you asked for the time. Even if they say no, and they will, oh yeah, that's not, you're not going to need that. They say that, that's what you need. You need that documentation. Because then when they come back and they say, you have to spend all this time, it's like, here's the email. You said I didn't. And if you still want me to, that's fine, but we'll have to amend the contract.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the whole, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the longer I've done this, the more it feels like the economics of a site are very weird, because we certainly don't get paid for all of our time. But I also think it's sort of like weirdly weighted to both extremes. So to your point earlier, if you put in a bunch of time and you realize you're not going to enroll any patients, it makes the most sense to just say, cool, see ya. Because when you actually do enroll well, I feel like it sort of makes up for all the others. Like you're almost, when you do well, you do really well to the point that it pays for your time plus, but when it doesn't work, which is unfortunately more often than not, you end up stuck in the mud, spinning your wheels, losing money, wasting time. And then the stuff in the middle just there's occasionally the stuff in the middle just kind of putters along. Maybe you make a little bit of money, you enroll a couple of patients, but you're not really getting anywhere. So does it make more sense to take as many studies as you can, figure out real quick which ones are going to work and which ones aren't, and maximize your time, prioritize it towards the studies that work? Now, that doesn't sound very good for, I don't know, science, I guess, because you are still wasting somebody's money in there somewhere. But if you're being strategic, does that make sense? Because you're not going to be successful with every trial. You're just not. No matter how good you are, you can't be. No.
Have you ever, so that's called the cost of doing business paradigm. And it's very, very good theory, and a lot of people do it. I think you have to, gosh, what was I going to say before? It was super cool. What did you say before I responded? Because there was something that I was going to say about that. I don't remember. We'll figure it out.
That's okay. We might come back. We'll come back. Hopefully it'll come back.
We'll come back to it. I'm sure it'll revisit. But yeah. Oh, I remember. So that is going to have to pivot based off of your stage in your site cycle. If you're a mom and pop beginner site and you still have to build that reputation and work toward it, you're probably going to have to be much more strategic and technical and scientific, getting as much money as possible, every dollar out of your contract, because you have to make payroll. The bigger you get, the deeper your pockets, the more you can invest in risk. And you can take on those sites, or you can take on something that, like, okay, what if we do risk all this time for the seat? No worries at all. We've got so much of a runway that it's just worth it to eat the time. So I think that's going to be a moving marker depending on the success of your site.
One, I think, Sandra, to your point, like trial feasibility is really important. I think it's interesting because oftentimes we hear trial feasibility, it's sponsors, CROs evaluating sites for their feasibility. But do you see I kind of get a sense that sometimes sites aren't doing feasibility the other way, where they're like, is this a good trial for me? They're just taking any trial they get.
Yes, very much so. There's sites that, give me a feasibility, I'll fill it out, take everything. I don't care if I'm a primary care physician, I'll take the oncology trials, the special, I'll take everything. There's people, they just a wide net and they'll just grab everything. And then there's people, the Ruttrick effect, right? Nelson. So he did a focused,
very focused,
very focused. He picked like 2 trials and crushed them.
Yeah.
And then he was fine.
And I think a lot of it also depends on what is your motivation for being a site and for running research, right? Like that's where it's like, hey, I work with this very specific oncology patient population. Like you maybe find one patient, but you're not doing it for the financials. And I think that's kind of where you're doing it because you want to do the science or work with the patient population.
Yeah, but whatever you still need to keep the lights on, regardless of what your intention is. Now, if you're part of a bigger organization,
that's what I'm saying. I think this is why you see the trials segment into different. Like if you're at a large NCI designated cancer center, your investment in research is very different. And again, now with funding, this is shifting, right? But the reason for doing research is different than being a site that's trying to make payroll, right?
Yeah. And I don't know the answer. I've tried it both ways, and I've changed every 3 months. Where I'm like, you know what, we're going to take a bunch of stuff and we're going to see what happens. And then I'm like, you know what, we're not going to take anything unless it's perfectly in our wheelhouse. And that may depend on what else we have going on, what our staffing looks like at that particular moment, how much bandwidth you have coming in the door or not coming in the door. And I don't know. And I've been proven wrong and I've been proven right doing it both ways. That just, again, it's always tricky to me.
Yeah. Or you have the sites who literally started a site with an exit plan. They're growing this just for private equity.
Well, and so I guess that's a question too. Is if you're going to sell, doesn't it look better to have 100 trials on your books?
Depends on how fast you want to sell.
Depends on your trial mix. It's your runway and what you want to do. So generally when you sell, you've got to look at least 12-month TTE, if not 24. You want to look at, when you have that on your mind, reports and analytics are the only thing. And all you want to do is drive up your revenue and accrual and get that good EBITDA and get up and get out and sell. So that's a totally different strategy compared to the passionate site, compared to the site with a community mission, compared to the big academic site. Yeah. It's like we're talking about this whole taxonomy of sites, and they all have similarities depending on their site cycle and their mission.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think there's an impact? I mean, I think I've talked about this before, but does the change in, I guess, site mix change the economics in a way that then changes how sponsors as a whole do contract or budget negotiations? Does it shift the industry more in a good, hopefully in a positive way? I would think as trials have gotten out of the academic centers more and more, there's got to be a bigger focus on the financial aspects, which is hopefully good for everyone, sort of the rising tide lifts all ships sort of thing.
Look at SMOs and negotiating in bulk. That's a big one. Yeah. Site sponsors will come in and say, well, you've got 50 sites. Okay, we'll give you this trial for all 50 sites, but you have to give us a 20% discount or whatever it is. Or a reduced admin fee because it's all consolidated, that kind of a thing. And that, for that SMO, for that giant network, those costs, kind of like negotiating in bulk, research in bulk, that is going to significantly drive the fair market value for the small guy who's not part of the network, who has to pay for everything at full cost.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think it's in that case, it's not a good thing, right? Because they got a discount.
Yeah, but wouldn't you argue that at some level, historically speaking, academics doing a majority of the research, they were not necessarily as financially focused, right? Because that wasn't as necessary. So that probably wasn't a huge focus. Now they certainly are. And so now they're going to be driving things to get more and more out of the industry sponsored trials they're doing. So I could see it being a benefit on that side of things, though, swinging
They could try. They've got a long way to go. Those academics, they're kind of bound by government. So since they get federal dollars, even if it's fewer federal dollars, they have so much regulation around that's Like, I literally talked to an academic institution who said we are not allowed to negotiate. We're not allowed to go above this amount, otherwise we'll lose our federal funding. I don't know if that dynamic is ever going to change unless academics just go private and then they don't take federal money and then they don't have to be regulated. But like what you were just saying, those costs, another really, really cool historic story of how negotiating at a single site or a group of sites, whether it be academic or hospital, drove the fair market value for other dynamics that were totally independent and separate.
Independent. Interesting.
Well, does it make sense for, an independent site to actually be cheaper? Because that's some leverage point they have. I mean, obviously, if you're out shopping, if you have two options, you might choose the cheaper one. Does that, I mean, again, not that it's a good thing, it might not be a good thing for me to take less money, but is there any, do sponsors, are they looking
But is there less overhead too, right? Like you're smaller, you're nimble. Do you have less overhead?
They
and so you
definitely try
can
to
do it
push
cheaper.
it. The biggest bragging right of the small site is being fast and nimble and flexible. And you can say, okay, we're going to be a little bit more expensive, but we have to pay for everything. We don't get government dollars. But at the same time, we're going to quadruple enrollment. We're going to enroll circles around that academic medical center. So you get what you pay for.
Yeah, we're going to be done enrolling before they are even approved because that's what we can do. Yeah,
that's
a fair point.
That's the biggest strength.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, we're just about at the hour.
You said you had a surprise.
I do.
You had a surprise for us.
I'm seeing a trend. You remember what was last year? It was the book, right?
The book. Okay.
So the book was great. So I really try to work toward a lot of kind of like making research fun and engaging for the community. There's the book. So I just got this. You ready?
I'm ready.
You see it?
Is it a game?
Is it a board game?
It is literally a negotiating board game. Yep.
That's awesome.
So, it's a negotiating board game that's designed to raise awareness about negotiating so that we can all be in each other's shoes and understand the needs of each other.
I'm fascinated.
Yeah.
I love a good board game night. So
So come play the CRPN Let's Negotiate sometime.
All right. Can people buy it? Is it available?
Not yet. It's still in like prototype, but no, I'll have to let you know. I do. I want to have a good board game night.
I like it. We should do it. We should do a live stream of playing the board game.
Totally. I'll get like another camera.
Yeah.
And like point it down there, and we'll try to figure out. I can show you how to play.
I like it. Where can people find you online?
YouTube's doing better than LinkedIn now because LinkedIn algorithms are crazy, but YouTube is starting to block bells and icons. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh no. It
doesn't matter what your preference is. They just show you whatever pays them more. So you can try to find me on YouTube. You can try to find me on LinkedIn. CRPN still has a website. It's awesome. Big shout out to Image Bloom. They've been very kind to me, helping me to work on it. That's pretty much it. And got my nose down to the grindstone. It's just the email. Come email CRPN and we can come have a chat.
Awesome.
All right. Very good, man. Well, thanks again for coming on. And until next time.
Of course. A year, right?
I mean, we'll check in.
11 months.
Sooner than that. 11 months. 11 months.
Yeah, right. Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Note to File. We're committed to continuing to bring you independent and unfiltered coverage of the clinical trial industry.
We want to talk about what you want to hear. So if you have something on your mind, hit us up at notetofilepodcast.com.